Hi guys! Since the new Wreck-It Ralph movie is coming out, today we'll be doing Vanellope von Schweetz. I think she's a very fun character and her features were very suitable for transferring onto a tween or teenage version on a Monster High, so that's what we're going for. For the base of this project, I used this Watercolor Monster High doll, which had a bit of staining around her forehead, but she was still suitable since we would be correcting the skin tone anyway. So I started by removing her original hair and face using acetone. As soon as I got the hair off, you can see the staining around the hairline, so I don't actually know if it came from the actual hair, maybe the glue, I don't know. But for this project it was fine, since we would be tweaking it and making her skin a little less pink and a little more skin toned anyway. So once that was off, I took my Acetone knife and I cut away the point at her ears, since it didn't really match the character, and used a file to smooth it out. Vanellope has pretty big ears, but there's not really any doll who has ears like that. Then give the face a wash before priming it with the Mr. Super Clear spray, and then get out your materials for the repaint. As usual, I use my watercolor pencils, a few shades of chalk pastel, and also some acrylic paint. When you make a character's face onto the face of a doll that doesn't have, the exact same face shape as you need, you do have to kinda correct the features of the doll accordingly. So I start off by sketching on the eyes, that's the main point for me. Trying to get them to a size where it would look right with the doll's face. And I also went on to the mouth, where I sketched an open mouth smile instead of a closed one, because Vanellope doesn't have that big full poofy lips like a Monster High usually have, so you can find a fake it by drawing it an open mouth instead. I used a very light skin tone of chalk pastel to correct the color of the doll. I use my pencil to block in the colors of the eyes in this first layer, but I will later end up covering it with acrylic paint, so if you want to actually do this as a sketch to yourself, it's up to you. I was really trying to get the features of this doll to look right, so I was a little hesitant to do much more in this layer because I wanted to set everything in, so I gave it another spray of Mr. Super Clear, locking everything in so I could start working on top. Chalk pastels are really good for adding color when you want a more smoked out or very soft look, so I like to use them for making natural looking lips, since again her lips aren't that defined. So I used a smaller brush to fade in a few shades of more skin tone pink. To help the illusion of the open parted lips, I used white acrylic paint and a bit of grey to paint in some teeth. As I mentioned before, I use acrylic paint on the eyes, simply because you can build up opacity in one layer rather than doing many layers sealing in between. And especially with a character like this, where it's cartoony, you really want the eyes to pop. For the iris, I started with a base color of a light brown, then I added in a medium tone, fading to a darker tone in one of the corners like her eyes has, and then on top of that I add in lighter lines, just for, that pattern in her eyes. Then you add in the pupil in black, which I always feel is kind of hard because if you make them too big it looks really weird. And this was how far we got in this layer, so now we seal and work on top again. Whenever I'm a little scared to do something, I will usually go over it in pencil first before moving into acrylic paint, like I'm doing with the eyes again here, where I choose to line them with my black pencil, even though I will be adding black acrylic paint on top of that later. A trick to get more opacity out of your watercolor pencil is to use the actual watercolor effect, and you can do this by taking a wet brush and rubbing this on the side of the color part of the pencil, and then you can apply it this way. And I did this for the lower eyelid to make them stand out. I also used some chalk pastel beneath the eyelids for a softer shade, but also I needed it to be very defined to that area, so I used a small piece I cut from an eraser just to take off any excess. To get a cute little pink nose, I dabbed on some chalk pastel. I also added a lot of pink chalk pastel to her cheeks to really bring them out, and also later layered it with a bit of brown around the very edge of her smile. Shading around the doll's face in general just helps to give dimension. As you can tell through the different layers, I kind of jump in between the features, sometimes working a bit on the eyes, then the lips, then the cheeks, and then going back to the eyes. Because I feel it's a way not to, stare myself blind at something. And I just kind of build up everything evenly. I use black chalk pastel to shade the whites of the eyes, just because I really think it helps to give shape. And time for another spray. So here I'm back to the eyes, adding black acrylic paint to the lash line. I'll be adding 3D lashes afterwards because I like them, but if you don't, you do want to paint on some eyelashes at this point. As you can see, for instance with the eyebrows, there are certain things I like to build up in pencil over many layers just because I like the look. To add some highlights around the face, I use my white pencil. I add a bit of vinyl shading before sealing in for the last time and putting it aside to dry. Now let's move on to the outfit. I use the kitchen film and tape method to make a pattern for her hoodie. For the fabric, the closest thing I could find to the right color was this velvet kind of fabric in green. And it doesn't even have any stretch, so I kind of just had to make it work. So cut out your pattern pieces, put them right sides together and start by sewing the shoulder seam. Then you want to sew on your sleeves. Then sew down the side seam and we have something that looks like a shirt. Next you want to fold over a strip of fabric and sew this on to be the cuffs. Also for the bottom of the shirt you want to add on the pockets first before adding the bottom kind of cuff part. Or you can pin it on your doll to check the fit before you add in a closure, buttons, whatever you want. The top of her pocket seemed to be stitched on with visible stitching, so I used this pinkish embroidery thread to do that. For the hood of the hoodie, I made a pattern like this, cut 2 pieces of the green fabric and sewed them right sides together, and did the same with just some white fabric so I could make the lining white. You want to close the hood off in the front with a piece of velcro or button or something like that so you can add it onto the top of the blouse later. Now for her leggings or tights, I made a pattern the same way, but it doesn't have to be special. You can make it very simple because we were making it out of stretchy fabric anyway, sewing up each pant leg before tucking one of them into the other so it ends up being right sides together, and sewn the front center seam. Since I couldn't get stretchy fabric in the right color, I used a marker to get the stripes on there, and then I used some white acrylic paint to paint the white stripes in between. Accessorize with a short pair of black boots. For her skirt, which I believe is supposed to be like a Reese's peanut butter cup or something, I folded up a strip of paper before painting it with brown acrylic paint. If you have brown paper, obviously that's easier, I just didn't. And once that was dry, I sealed it in with a bit of Mod Podge. Now I used Mr. Super Clear to give a spray to the doll's neck and also hands, which would be visible under the clothes, and shaded them with the same skin tone of chalk pastel before sealing it in again. For the hair, I used some black acrylic yarn, which I brushed out and straightened with my hair straightener and glued into wefts. If you have some regular doll hair that you don't need to brush out, then just go straight to making wefts. To make a good base for the hair, I used black acrylic paint and painted the doll's scalp. I popped the head back onto the body just to make sure I wouldn't mess up the hair doing that later, and then I glue on 2 small strands on the front for her bangs before gluing a weft of hair following the line of her hair going straight forward, and this is because we want to flip it over backwards to a ponytail later. So go around all the way around the hairline, gluing the hair going downwards. Then want to add a line of hair actually going upwards in the direction of the ponytail to add a bit of fullness. Once dry, you can gather the hair in the ponytail. Now for the eyelashes, I used some regular eyelashes, which was actually meant to be bottom lashes, cut out the different sections and layered them up until I got the look I wanted. Then you can go ahead and add glaze to the eyes and lips. And then I went ahead and assembled the different pieces of the clothes. Then for the final detail, we want to use some Polymer clay to make the candy that's going to be sitting in her hair. And from what I understand, it's supposed to be like she has dirty hair, but you know, she's in a candy game, so her hair is dirty with candy. I just found that was really funny. So yeah, basically cut out some small flowers and then cut them into stars because I didn't have a star cutter. Cut out some hearts, rolled out some sprinkles, and shaped a small gummy bear. You also want to make this twisted licorice kind of looking thing to go around her ponytail. Bake it according to package instructions, allow it to cool, then you can cut out all of your sprinkles and then start gluing it onto the hair. I actually think she has more candy in her hair than I actually added, but then how much or little you add is up to you. And there we go, she's done. I'm really happy with how my Vanellope turned out. I think she's really cute and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I'm really excited to watch the new movie because I really loved Wreck-It Ralph. thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a new one real soon. Bye!